this case study comes out of Billerica, Massachusetts, and there's this is actually not a very uncommon case that we see. This particular homeowner had a new patio put in around their in-ground pool, and in order to accomplish this new patio setup, new concrete patio, the bulkhead was going to sit too low relative to the patio in the house. And as most homeowners would do, is to try to find a way to make that situation work rather than digging out the entire foundation in this area and replacing the bulkhead for thousands and thousands of dollars. The recommendation by the contractor, and rightfully so, was to raise the bulkhead top so that it is above the ground, and so that water pooling wouldn't go over the metal doors and into the basement, which of course is the best thing to do. You obviously can't have the metal bulkhead below the door or below the water line. Otherwise, you're always going to have water coming in under any snow or rain event. So they did the right thing by lifting the bulkhead up higher and placing a thin, probably about 3 to 4 inches of concrete above the existing poured concrete pad or bulkhead. So that allowed them to get a little extra height and have set the rest of the patio so it had good pitch. The problem with that is that when they did this, is the seam between the existing bulkhead and the topper that they used, the concrete topper, to get a little extra height there, was never actually sealed properly. We see this a lot of times. So now the water that gets in and now below ground in this area is now coming through the seam and the joint around the foundation of the bulkhead here. So there's only really 2 ways to deal with it. Either you break out the patio and you deal with it that way, which the guy just spent thousands of dollars to put in a brand new patio for his new pool set up for the summer. So that was a non-starter. And the only other way for us to do this here would be to actually attack it from the inside. And so there was enough space there and enough high strength concrete for us to do an injection process there. Sometimes the pad that they put on top is only 1 inch or 2, and that wouldn't be strong enough to drill into and inject into, because it would actually just break the concrete. So we'd have to use different techniques of waterproofing on the interior side to make sure that water is not just coming through. So in this particular case, we treated it just like a cold joint, where you would do an addition to a foundation, except it was an addition to the existing bulkhead, and we're able to inject that area and fill that seam all the way around. One way a homeowner could do this preventatively before you get into the section where we need to come in is on making sure that when you do install a topper to your bulkhead, that it is properly waterproofed on the exterior side, and that they put in a sealant around the old to the new transition. Doesn't guarantee a perfect seal, and it doesn't guarantee it's going to be waterproof, but it's your best chance to do it preventatively. And if it does leak down the line, that's something that we can help you out with to inject or to do other methods of repair. But this case was actually pretty relatively straightforward. There was no disruption to the brand new patio and concrete pad outside. It was just sealing up that interior joint there. So if you do get into these projects or you do need to raise your bulkhead, just think ahead of time as to what you might need to do to waterproof it on the exterior. And if you've already done it and you're seeing water come through, let us know. We can get this done without doing any sort of digging out of the foundation or the bulkhead or breaking out any patios that you might have placed, so we can leave everything intact. So at the end of the day, everything was resolved, and it was no headache for the homeowner, but it could have been a big issue if they had gone another way and tried to jackhammer out the entire area and resealed it from the outside. So don't immediately assume that you have to do that. There are methods to do this with non-invasiveness on the outside. So happy homeowner, nice dry bulkhead, and a beautiful new pool deck patio to enjoy for the summer.